Levi, you were wrong. No matter how many times I think about it, you should have saved Erwin, not Armin. You shouldn't have let yourself be swayed by a bunch of sobbing rookies, and you definitely shouldn't have let him go just because he suffered enough in life. Erwin Smith was a man with a definitive role to play for the future of humanity. Let's be cold and objective here. Look at Armin. His mantra is always, "We need to talk." But tell me, in the entire run of Attack on Titan, has a single major conflict ever been resolved through talk? Even after Eren's death, they crossed the ocean to talk, only to be met with missiles and more destruction. In a world where the cycle of hatred never ends, talking is nothing more than a stalling tactic. Even the gentle Bertholdt eventually realized that their differences were irreconcilable. Above all, Armin is too indecisive. He lacks the killer instinct. Now look at Erwin. Sure, he might seem like a psychopath at times, but when a decision needs to be made, he looks at the reality, however grim, and acts instantly. He never wavers. That's why Levi followed him, and that's why every single soldier charged into hell on his command. If that final charge against the Beast Titan had been Armin's call, he would have been bowing 50 times, covered in tears and snot, apologizing for having such a risky plan. But because it was Erwin, they rode into their deaths willingly. And what's the most important quality of a leader? Intelligence? Strategic vision? Raw power? No, it's the hair. Look at Erwin's hair, that perfectly groomed side part. It screams competence. It says, I am focused, I am fair, and I get things done. If I were a woman, that's the kind of man I'd want to lean on. Then look at Armin. Is it a boy? Is it a girl? Honestly, halfway through the series, I was still confused about how to address him. And I wasn't the only one. It's not about having long hair. Doesn't the Survey Corps have grooming standards? What if a Titan grabs him by those locks? Appearance matters for a leader. Why was Ronald Reagan one of the most popular US presidents? His policies aside, his public image and look played a massive role. Think about it. If Kim Jong-un looked like a K-pop star, he'd have teenage fan clubs and merch stores in the States by now. Erwin looks like a leader. His eyes possess a piercing insight, his neat hair suggests his operations will be just as orderly, and his voice, it's pure testosterone. You hear it and you want to obey. This is why, when the survivors returned after saving Armin, everyone was left scratching their heads. It's tragic, really. Erwin lost his father because of a single raised hand. Then, a guardian angel of a Titan came along and took one of his arms as if to say, stop waving your hands around or you'll lose your life. But he insisted on raising his other arm and fast-tracking his own demise. Honestly, that Titan should have taken both arms while it was at it. But I get it from the author's perspective. What would Erwin have done if he had survived? Would he have supported the rumbling? His dream ended at the basement, so we'll never know for sure. However, I believe Erwin would have been a massive obstacle to Eren's plan. Think about his track record. The moment Sonny and Bean were killed, he knew there was a mole. He successfully recruited Levi, even while knowing Levi was there to kill him and steal secret documents. If Erwin were alive, he would have seen through the powers of the founding and attack Titans and forced his own agenda through. Why did the author nerf Levi at the end? Because if Levi were at 100%, he would have carved through those Titans alone, and the story would have become The Levi Show. Similarly, why was Erwin retired right before the massive lore drops about Marley and the outside world? Because Erwin is so capable that he would have derailed the author's intended ending. To keep the focus on Eren, Mikasa, and Armin, the author had to prune Erwin from the narrative. He was simply too good for the plot to handle. Now, let's play out the scenario. Imagine Levi actually saved Erwin. They would have entered that basement together. Erwin would have finally proven his father's hypothesis, that the monarchy manipulated the memories of the people within the walls. He would have uncovered the truth of the world, the identity of the Titans, and the reality of Marley. But do you think Erwin would have just retired because he achieved his dream? Not a chance. With a fresh Titan body and his missing arm restored, he would have pushed toward the world beyond the walls with even more ferocity. Contrast that with Armin. As the story shifts from Titan versus human to human versus human, Armin starts acting strange. He begins to agonize and hesitate, saying, before, we fought because we'd die if we didn't kill the enemy, but now we're killing because our ideas are different. Let's be real for a second. What on earth are you talking about, Armin? Do you honestly think the royal government would have spared you just because you have different ideas? Do you think the Marleyan Empire would leave Paradise alone out of respect for your philosophy? It's still a kill or be killed situation, yet Armin is out here talking like a pampered pacifist. If If Erwin had been there, he would have slapped some sense into him and told him to wake up. If Erwin were alive, would he have just accepted the annihilation of Paradis? Would he have just sat there and taken the world's hatred? Absolutely not. Erwin would have done whatever it took to protect Paradis. Why? Because here's a truth people often overlook. Erwin Smith is one of the most selfish characters in the series. He didn't join the Survey Corps to offer his heart for humanity. He joined to prove his father right. That's why, even as his soldiers were dying, he admitted he just wanted to abandon everything and run to that basement. In the Attack on Titan universe, everyone struggles between public duty and private desire. Eren torn between the world's lives and his friends. Mikasa torn between saving humanity and her love for Eren. But Erwin was different. He had such unwavering resolve because up until that point, his selfish interest perfectly aligned with the public good. His scholarly obsession with the truth was exactly what the Survey Corps needed. The only thing that ever outweighed his selfishness was his crushing sense of responsibility toward his fallen comrades. That's why he chose death in front of the Beast Titan's rocks. But you're telling me that man would just die quietly for a world that calls his fallen friends descendants of devils and seeks to wipe them out? Unthinkable. If Erwin had been in Armin's place, it wouldn't have been 80% of humanity wiped out, it would have been 98%. Even the Titans trampling the world might have been so moved by Erwin's motivational speeches that they'd start doing backflips for him.